thoughts on your first day? What was the first thing that came in your mind when you walked in that class and you saw all the learners there?
Because I was the first one starting the program in our school. There was joy. At the same time, I was feeling nervous. Thank God, Purva and me did it together for the first day, and it was a great start.
As I entered my classroom, I had mixed feelings of being anxious, tense. I was very, very nervous. Mainly because those people were so much more elder than me, and there was this generation and communication gap. So I was really worried about how we were going to actually teach them.
Teach India, the first class, was something I'll never forget. As I entered the class, it was like I was part of them. Both of my students and me, we didn't know what was going to happen, We were all expected. But gradually as the classes, moved on and grew, we developed a sense of understanding. We started joking around each other. We actually started learning from each other. There was this point where one of my students, Bhavna, she actually corrected me for something I by mistake said in class. At that point I learned that, teaching and learning is a two-way process. It's not just one where the teacher just stands and goes on and goes on and goes on. So that is something I'm always going to remember.
When I first walked into the class, I was really nervous because those people are really older than me. So I didn't want to offend them. I want to be really friendly. So that was the thing that really made me nervous. But once we both entered along with my fellow teacher, it was loads of fun because those guys had already had those classes before. So it was they knew the way to do things, right? So we started with the first activity, which was the introduction, in which they spoke in English and introduced themselves. And I was pretty surprised that they were quite fluent. So it was a great experience and loads of fun.
And what was the hardest part of teaching them, considering they were so much older to you? What was the hardest thing in the process?
The hardest thing was some of them knew a bit of English, some of them didn't know at all. So there were people picking up so quickly, and there were people we had to give a lot of time to. That was difficult because there was a lot of distraction there. Some of them felt discouraged, and some of them felt inferior to others. That was a big problem.
How did you overcome that? How did you get those shy ones to speak up?
We actually paid more attention, and we actually gave more chances to the one who weren't participating as much, and we complimented them, praised them, and that created some encouragement in their minds. And I think that
So the major challenge I faced was definitely the communication gap. It was very difficult in the beginning. It was very difficult to convert the English words into Hindi, but later on, our teaching material, our teacher notes, they were very, very helpful. They did provide us with a lot of footnotes that easily helped us to overcome most of the problems.
So I think the hardest obstacle in the teaching process was maybe getting people to open up in class. There were a few who were always bubbly, always wanted to answer, but there were a few students who weren't participative, and I knew that they knew the answer, but they were just not confident about themselves. So getting that confidence in themselves was, I think, the hardest part. And I think we overcome that by giving each one an equal chance in class. Like, we had a debate, so it's not like we had just two teams and random people could talk. Everybody had to talk. So when everybody was given an equal chance, so common mistakes came up and everybody learned together. So I think that's how we overcome mistakes.
The most challenging bit for the entire teaching experience was getting the students to do their homework. Because whenever we gave them homework, some of them did it, some of them did not do it, because they came up with all these excuses that हमको time नहीं मिला, हमारे पास इतना काम था, this and that. So Tanisha came up with this idea of making a star chart. People who did their homework should get a red star, and people who did not do their homework got a black star. So Tanisha told this idea to me on the phone, and she's like, I've said this in class, so you go and see whether they do their homework or not. So I walked in class, they greeted me, and they were all ready with their homework right in front. So I was really happy that this idea kind of worked out. Because whenever we gave them homework, some of them did it, some of them did not. So when Tanisha came up with this idea, it was loads of fun because they actually did their homework. So it was really nice.
So one thing I wish could have changed was that we got more time for our modules. Basically, we got 1 hour for each module, which was pretty sufficient. But when the next day we used to revise most of the things, most of our students used to forget them. So that way, I wish we had more time, something like revision classes or mock tests or something like that would really help them retain everything they've learned.
One thing I wish I could have done better was basically breaking down the instructions to make sure that our point is put across in a better manner, and also degrading our language, because when you're talking to people around you, you're used to a certain vocabulary in English, so you tend to use big words. So then later we realized that they're not getting it quite right, because they used to just look at you and they'd be like, "Ye kya ho raha hai?" So that's the part I wish I could have done better. And also I wish we could devote some more time to fluency and pronunciation. For example, a word like monument. When we tried it first, they didn't get the pronunciation right. So every time I used to go to class, I used to drill the pronunciation again and again so that it gets into their system.
The one thing I could change about the teaching method was particularly when we had to tell them about hotels, how to book an hotel or how to use a Skype phone, because the thing is they learned it with eager and everything, but they have never done it before. So the practicality was missing there. So maybe that could have been a little modified and we could actually show them how it is done through a video or whatever. So maybe that is something which we would like to improve on in this.
What was the one thing that you learned, one thing that you took back from all the people and the entire process of teaching them, and what was that you learned?
I have seen many people are coming back to their institutions to give back, to pay back what they've received. This was a wonderful opportunity for me as I got to pay back to my institution while being in that part of that institution. And thank you so much, Teach India, for this great opportunity. And I hope they continue this program in every other school as they're doing.
From this entire experience of teaching, I was that it's never too late to learn whatever you want to, no matter what. And also, it was so nice to see how much enthusiastic all these students were to learn English even after being in mid 30s or late 30s. So that was something that I learned. It's never too late. Also, I'm very grateful for having this opportunity to teach so many people, to teach the support stuff in my school. So it's a great initiative by the Teach India and British Council, and I hope this program goes a very long.
The thing I've learned from all of the Teach India classes would be patience. I've learned how to be patient with people. I've learned how to understand their point of view too. It's not just always me. And I've started using this quality in my everyday life too, not just in my classes. And I've also learned how it feels to be on the other side. I've learned to be more respectful to my own teachers. I don't make fun of them for one slip of tongue now, because I know that even I can do that in class, and I've done that in class, and it doesn't feel very good. So I've learned just to be a little more patient, a little more respectful to everybody. And I've also learned how to, the first day of my classes, whenever I start teaching, my uniform used to be filled with chalk, the chalk powder. It used to be white, and I have a green uniform. So I used to come back home and my mom used to be like, what is this? So gradually I met my teacher one day and she told me, you learn with time. So gradually as the classes moved on and on, there was this time where my uniform was spotless. That time I know that I have, accomplished my mission, I've done my teaching.
What was your favorite game or your favorite memory or your favorite day of the entire teaching?
This day was after a lot of teaching, we had to make the visiting cards. They had to inquire and collect information and prepare other people's visiting cards. There was nervousness within them, but then by the end of the session, they were confident, and I could see them speaking much more fluently than they did before, and it also created a sense of pride inside me as well as inside.
The favorite game of the students was what?
Definitely, they had so much fun playing that game.
Exactly, and basically, the hot seat was all about. There were two teams, and both of them had to guess a word written on the blackboard based on the clues that their teams gave them. And whichever team guessed the words first, they used to be the winner, and they used to get all the points.
It was loads of fun playing that game. Most of them didn't feel like studying. All they wanted to do was play hot seat. It was loads of fun. There was lots of debate on which team got the highest points. And loads of them did a lot of cheating.
Exactly. A lot of them did so much cheating. And I remember my students telling me that I was doing this really difficult lesson with them, and they were so bored. Then in between they said that, okay, let's play hot seat. Why don't we play hot seat? Every day they used to ask me to play hot seat. So they really enjoyed it.
I think my favorite game which I played with them was the debate. Because we thought it would be all boring, debate and everything, and even they weren't very interested in the beginning. But when we introduced the topic, which was actually Madhuri Dixit versus Kareena Kapoor, all of them were all pumped up, and they were sitting on their seats, and they were like, all right, we'll participate. And that day, each one of them spoke. Even the people who do not participate at all raised their hands and they wanted to participate. So that sense of satisfaction, each one of them is actually participating as well as having fun. That she's more beautiful, she's dancing better. It was just fun. The atmosphere was so light there that day. It was amazing.